Hello, everyone, and allow me to excitedly introduce you to Dr. Dennis Cummins. For those of you that don't know Dennis, he is one of my favorite people on earth and one of my coaches. Dennis, thank you for jumping on with us today.
Thrilled to do it all the time. Love hanging out with you, Kristen.
Oh, we have had so much fun over the years. And for those of you that have heard me speak from the stage or have heard my story, one of the number one best things I ever did to grow my business was working with Dennis, learning how to really understand my message, package it, and be feeling confident to get up on a stage and present and talk about my journey. And Dennis, I remember it was like 10, 11 years ago was the first time we started working together. And that weekend changed my life.
Well, that is super kind of you to say that. And for those of you that are listening, I also want you to know that one of the reasons that her speaking ability and her ability to grow her business using it grew so much is because she is so dedicated to making it work. And for those of you that do know Kristen, and obviously you do because you're watching this right now, you know how authentic and awesome she is. So that makes what I do a lot easier working with somebody like that.
Well, thank you. But I remember, so part of the story, everybody, is that I saw Dennis speaking and to a group of like 700 people. And I said, I want to work with that guy. And my now ex-husband, but husband at the time said, who? And I said, the speaker. He's like, you're crazy. I mean, he told me, and I hounded you until you agreed to work with me. And we got in a room for 2 days doing nothing but helping me really learn how to hone parts of my intro, my close, different parts of it. And that absolutely transformed my ability to grow a business, to sell whatever it is that I'm talking about. I really, Dennis, truly, that was a pivotal moment in my whole career. So thank you for that. And I'm so glad that you're still helping so many business owners hone their message.
Yeah, it's funny because the things that we shared, and like you said, it's 10 or 11 years ago. So it's so neat to have been friends and to see you how you've grown, and not only just grown from where you were at the time and what you're using speaking for, but to see you launch and build an entire new business using the same skills is it's very rewarding for me. So, thank you for sharing that. But what's really neat is that the same skills, Kristen, that you and I went over 10 years ago, you think like sometimes things age and, technology changes and stuff goes away and this goes out of style. Um, to the contrary, the stuff that we talked about 10 years ago is probably even more important now because of technology. And that's not saying that technology can help. Like there's a lot that you can rely on using large learning language modules and using ChatGPT and Perplexity and all the others can really help you craft those messages. But because there's so much out there and because everybody has access to the same pablum of stuff, everybody's starting to sound the same. Nobody is sounding unique. And you're business owners and attorneys and doctors, and I work primarily with service type providers. They are losing their ability to distinguish themselves from the marketplace by relying so heavily on that AI generated content. The way you overcome that is by getting really good at live, whether live in person or live like we are right now online, being able to really clearly state really just three things. Number one, that you understand their problem. Number two, that you have the expertise to solve it. And number three, that you're the right person to do the job for them. And speaking, there's no better way to market your skills, market your talent, communicate your benefits than by speaking to somebody by far.
Yeah. Well, I will say it's one of those your school's never out. You're always going to be learning, but I would agree with everything you said and everybody listening to this, give a thumbs up below. I mean, you should always be sharpening your skills, but definitely your speaking skills. Like we are never done. We're always learning and honing and listen, everybody, it's why I still go back and do fun events with Dennis and such. I went to one, Dennis, a couple of years ago. You did one in just outside of Las Vegas. I know you've got a new one coming up in Phoenix in June. We're going to talk about, but I love the fact that just getting back in the room, hearing these skills, it's the same things you've taught me, I know, but when you hear them again, sometimes you're in a different place in your life and you're like, oh, that's right. I need to work on that technique. I need to hone that little element. So it's always about sharpening.
It is. And, listen, I've been in 53 countries around the world speaking with over 14,000 hours on stage at this point. I'm kind of good at what I do. I've sold tens of millions of dollars of services from the front of a room or from a webinar, but I still study and learn from other speakers about their craft, and just like all the business owners that you work with, Kristen, yeah, you get out of school, you can open a business, but it's so much easier to succeed if you just pick up a couple of the nuggets, right? And if you think about professional baseball players, the top 95% of baseball players, if you're like the 90 to 95%, you're making a couple $100,000 a year playing baseball. If you're 95 to 96%, you're making a couple million. If you're like 96 and you jump to 97%, now you're making hundreds of millions of dollars. So when you get to a certain level, it's like if just one little tweak could make such a huge difference for your ROI in your business and in your communication ability and in your sales and in your conversion rates, it's really incredible. And it's so much fun when you see something like that click. It's like maybe it's just changing the way that I explain something or changing the wording. Sometimes people just overcomplicate, especially professionals, right? Attorneys. I'm Dr. Dennis Cummins, retired chiropractor for 23 years, right? So we're super smart people. And many of you listening, super, super smart people. The problem is sometimes being too smart and overcomplicates. And we think, oh my God, I have to share all this information so that I can let them feel my value. The only thing they're going to feel is overwhelm and confusion. And when that happens, they're not going to move forward with you because they don't understand you, and they don't think you're going to understand them. And how is this ever going to work for us? So part of, being really good about speaking about what you do, Kristen, we've talked about this before. It's about really having that clarity of message, right?
Yes.
It's not, I had one of the doctors that I work with, a chiropractor, Dr. Jim DeBlasi. He talked about, I've been doing webinars for 40 years. And he goes, and they've all been wrong. I learned the things that I left out that I should have put in. But then my favorite part is, and all the things that I had in that I should have taken out.
Yeah.
And that's just as important about understanding, what goes into those messages. So when I teach, I don't tell you what to say, but I do share, hey, these are the components that make up a great promotional talk. And that's that's my expertise, promotional talk. There's the motivational, inspirational talks. And that's like, I'll go in and everybody's going to go, whoa, they're going to laugh. They're going to cry. It's going to be amazing. And nothing's going to happen at the end. Then there's the educational stuff where, hey, listen, sometimes we just have to buckle down. You've got to learn a new skill. And there's the teaching. But then there's that middle ground between the two where you teach them why and how to buy from you, and why and how they need your programs, and why and how your programs are the ones that are going to improve their life, going to give them more time, going to help them make more money, or increase their self-esteem or their level of influence in the society that they're in, or in their community, or in their churches or parishes or business communities. Being super clear about your message allows that to happen. And there's no better way than having a captive audience for, 30 minutes, 45, 60 minutes, which is unheard of now because, online, many of you are watching right now, you're probably checking your phone at the same time you're listening to us. I get it. Or you're checking, you have another screen open on your computer. You're looking at that. I get it. But when they're in the room with you, and if you can and do have a chance to speak with a live audience, oh my goodness, you very rarely have that opportunity. And it's one that you don't want to mess up,
Yeah.
because it's such a fantastic chance for you to really position yourself as the expert in your industry, as an attorney, as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a business owner in general. There's nothing better for conversion to sales. Nothing.
I'm loving all of this. And you make me want to like go back and hone my last presentation even more. I mean, I'm always hearing what you say and thinking about how can I make it better. I mean, it's part of that always sharpening your skills. But Dennis, you just said something about with clarifying your message, and I want you to maybe expound on this. I want everybody to get some good nuggets out of this little live stream. But you talked about clarifying your message, and you started to touch on this, and then kind of shared some other stuff. But can you share with everyone how, when you have your message tightened in, you're going to really connect with the right people? Can you talk a little bit about how that's going to help them resonate and draw them in even faster?
Sure. A lot of it has to do with the psychology of confusion. Let's call it that. If we're having a conversation and I start talking and, and I use doctor speak and I use all these big words and you get confused, there's a little part inside of your brain that goes, I don't understand what he's saying and I feel dumb. And most people don't want to feel dumb. They don't want to feel confused. It's an uncomfortable feeling. And what happens is they transfer that feeling onto working with you. So now anytime I work with Dr. Dennis, he's going to make me feel dumb by using big words, and this isn't going to be good. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be clear in your language and you shouldn't use things that position yourself as the expert and are super authoritative. They also, at the same time, need to be easily understood by the listener. So one of the things, and we've worked on this before, Kristen, you've come back a couple of times to sit in on some of and audit some of the classes after you've taken our original ones. One of the things I always say is you need to start with the end in mind, right? So anytime you're going to get in front of a room or anytime you have the opportunity to speak with people, my question first and foremost for you is why? Why are you there? Did you just have 20 minutes you needed to fill and talking to people seemed like a good idea? No, probably not. You're doing that. You're taking that time, which you could have spent with your family. You could have spent it on other marketing means or other pieces of your business in order to use it to generate more business. So if that's the goal of your talk, and that is the goal of a promotional talk, and this is what I work with businesses on, well, how do you move them there? And that's where that clarity comes in. So before you can have your clarity of your message, you need to have clarity of the outcome that you want, because the message that you build is completely dependent on the outcome you desire. And that's what most people they do it the other way around. They like, all right, I'm going to build this really fancy talk and it's going to sound great. And it's going to be like a TED talk. And I'm going to move to the parts of the stage that I'm supposed to move. And I'm going to pause. I'm going to lift my glasses off for emphasis and, and all that stuff. But then they forget the whole reason of their talk is to move them towards a call to action. And it's not a hard sell. It's just like, hey, listen, I'm here to help. Here's what you do if you'd like me to help you. Up to you. And then thanks a lot. See you later. And if you do this the right way, though, I call it invitational selling, which is the title of my upcoming book. You just invite them to buy from you. Stop selling. Just stop selling to people. Just invite them to buy and then let them when they want to. If you structure these types of talks properly, what happens is, and that, by the way, there's a lot of components, and I know we're super simplifying this, Kristen. So, when I do this 3-day event, the Building Your Business from the Stage event, we talk about seeding, which is creating intrigue for a product that you haven't talked about yet. We talk about pre-handling the objections that, many people would have to taking advantages of your products or services. We talk about the structure of the pieces of information that you put in there. We talk about how you insert testimonials and how you insert your storytelling and your personality into it. So when we do the program, I don't hand you a speech. What I do is I hand you the instruction and the recipe kit, and then you put your ingredients in there, your own personal experience, your own stories, your own testimonials, your own experiences in life, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes your story unique. You know, there may be, maybe 50, 60 attorneys watching this video at some point. I guarantee you all went to law school, you all passed your bars, you all have this basic core foundation of information that you needed to pass the bar exam, and yet not a single one of you is identical. You are all incredibly unique, and you're all going to appeal to a different segment of the audience because of your experience, your background, and your perspective. And creating that promotional message really involves putting yourself and your personality and your uniqueness into that message, and incorporating all of that into just telling a story about how you can help and why you should work with me to do it.
Love all of this. So, Dennis, I think I shared this with you a week ago or so. Like maybe it was 2 weeks ago, a client came to me and she got on a Zoom and she said, Kristen, I heard you speak from the stage a couple years ago, and I've never forgotten your story. I've never forgotten how you were in the audience knitting, and you put your knitting away and you were listening, and she was reciting back my story from a couple years ago. And she's like, I made the decision. Now's the time. I'm ready to sign up. I mean, I didn't have to, the invite had been sitting out there for quite some time, and she just picked it up and was like, okay, now she was ready. And she knew exactly what to do, how to get to us, how to get signed up. And, but that was thanks to you. And again, learning how to craft the message and the story that will connect with the right people. And that wasn't the right time for her back then, but when the time came, she remembered it and she showed up.
Yeah,
And
that's a great point, Kristen. And it's what you're talking about is, how do you become memorable, right? And there's some people that are, you've got a product or you've got a service. There is a limited amount of the population that are ready now. They're ready to buy, and they're going to do it. There's a larger, I mean, that's 5% of the population, right? There's about, maybe 80% that are ready when, well, not 80, maybe 60. They're ready when they're interested, but they're not ready yet. They're waiting for something to happen, whether it's more their financial situation to change, a job position to change, a relationship to change. But when that happens, they're going to take action. And then there's the people that are just ready never, and they're always going to be around.
yeah.
The real goal is to, for the people that are ready now, well, explain to them now while you're the person to do it. The other part is, how do you create a message that people will remember, even if they're not ready? And you've heard me, I have 2 rules when I teach people how to create promotional messages. Number 1, do not sell junk. I will not help you sell a crappy product or a crappy service. I don't want to help you get good at doing that, because this stuff works and you'll get good at it. I don't want that out there. So don't sell junk. But if I believe that you've got a great product or a great service and you come from the right place, the second one is provide value, whether or not they choose to buy from you, right? So no matter what, when you're delivering a talk, when you're delivering a presentation, give them something usable that will improve their life no matter what they decide, so that it's not just a sales pitch. It's, I can genuinely help you. Here's some help. You can do this on your own. Go with it. It's hard. It's not easy to do it on your own, and you're probably going to make some mistakes, but this will work if you do it. You're not going to like it, but it'll work, and it's going to take longer. It's going to be slower, and it's not going to get you the best results, but it will help. If you'd like to do it faster, better, easier, well, then I'm here. Let me know what you want to do. And then let them decide. It's not a hard pitch. It's just, I know what I'm doing, and I know that I can help you. How long do you want to continue to struggle? People, I deal with professionals all the time that spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month on social media ads that are producing fewer and fewer crappier and crappier results. And it's just getting worse. Every professional, everyone that I work with says that kind of advertising is dying, and it's just the return on investment is horrible, and the quality of clients they get is awful. There's an easier way. There's a much more effective way. Would you like the help? That's what I do. I'm happy to help you. Just reach out.
So we have a question from Anna on LinkedIn about being in front of live audiences and how to get people to pay attention. We were talking about being memorable, but like even just in today's day and age of people are used to so many little sound bites. And I think you started to touch on this of the give them value, give them something that's usable. But what else would you say to that question?
Well, value is there, but the other portion of that, and that's a great question, by the way. So thanks for asking that, Anna. It's about how do you engage them mentally, right? Because they're not there physically. So you can engage people in three ways: mentally, physically, or emotionally. The emotional way is through telling stories primarily. So if you tell a heartfelt story about why you do what you do, people will tap into that, and people love to hear stories. That's why being personal and not just sharing the information, but why the information is even important to you. That's a big part of that. The physical part is you could ask them to move. Hey, if you love what you're hearing right now, give it a thumbs up. If you've been doing some of the things that I've been talking about, pat yourself on the back. Reach around, pat yourself on the back. An interactive strategy. The other way is to ask rhetorical questions, because questions engage your brain. So you're all listening right now. I don't want you to say anything out loud, and I don't know what you're doing right now, but I'm going to ask a question. I'm going, are you wearing shoes right now? Now, no matter what, you're either wearing them or not, but I guarantee you in your mind, you had to answer that question because you cannot ignore a question. So one of the greatest ways to engage an audience throughout. Now, this has been a little bit more instructional, but I've also asked questions along the way, like, have you imagined? So I'll use a lot of rhetorical question language, like, how many of you would understand? How many of you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever felt that way? Have you had this experience? Whenever you ask a question of the audience, even if they're looking at their other screen and they're typing on their phone, in their mind, they're going, oh yeah, I did that. And then they're going to glance back at you on the computer. So you can use polls, you can use questions, you can use all those strategies. I will tell you that I do webinars all the time. I don't use any of that because I'm just me. This is how I talk. I do ask a lot of questions. I try to keep it exciting. I try to not be boring. Sometimes, I am genuinely excited about this topic though.
Yeah.
You have to find out what you're genuinely excited about, because people will smell it right away. If you're bored by your own topic, trust me, everybody watching.
No one's going to want to be there.
So you have to be excited about your topic. And if you are, then that's it. Now, Kristen, we used to do, I used to do a lot more of the building your business from the stage events. Mm-hmm. Now, COVID hit and I just stopped doing it. And I kind of forgot how much I liked it, and I didn't do it. And I always tell a story, I truly believe that each and every one of you listening has an important gift to share. Now, I don't know what that gift is, but there is something that you've got that can help other people. When you don't share that, you cause suffering. What I mean by that is there's somebody that could have been helped, but because you weren't confident enough to tell them about it in a clear and compelling way, because of your own self-doubt, maybe you're uncomfortable with speaking. That's one of the biggest fears, is not wanting to get in front of an audience. Oh, what if I look stupid? Well, you talk in public every day. Do you look stupid now? You're probably going to look stupid when you do it on a webinar and people still like you. It's okay. You got in front of people and you shared what you can do. That's a cool thing. Now, if you've got something great to share, but then you get even better at sharing it because you understand that there's a strategy, there's a recipe. You went through the program, Kristen. Yeah. We walk you through, like, over 3 days. When you leave, your talk is done. you've got a 60-minute presentation that you could go out the very next day and deliver, because we do it live. Like, it's not like I'm going to go home and finish it, and then I have so many questions and I'll never get it done, and none of the other programs have ever worked. Yeah, I know that because I've taught those programs. That's why, right, Kristen? When you're in this program, like, this is a participation sport.
Yes.
You get her done while we're live, with feedback from me, with feedback from the other attendees, so that you understand, did your message land?
Yeah.
Did it feel right for you? Did it feel comfortable in your own words, not mine? I mean, I'll coach you. I may give you some suggestions, but nobody sounds like me.
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't sound like anybody else. We've all got our own personalities, our own sense of humor, our own sense of fun, and you just got to let that go. But you do it within a structure.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you really start to have the ability to make a difference. And when you start making a difference, you start making a profit.
I would agree with all of that. I've got to say, one of my favorite parts of, like, the getting in and having that space to build, and you go through, like, the beginning, being able to, like, walk onto a stage or start a webinar and know that you can nail that first 10 minutes. It takes away so many of the jitters, so many of the, like, because then the later part, the content, like, you know your own product or your own thing. But most people, they're most, like, fearful of that first 2 minutes. Like, what am I going to say? How am I going to start? And I remember when we went through it, and watching other people in your programs go through it, of, like, by day 2, by day 3, I mean, they've been practicing it, they've been working through it, and it just started rolling so much smoother. And then they could go into their content, and then being able to close with confidence, or, like you said, have that invitation out there so that people knew how to end it.
Here's what I always love to say. For those of you that are out there, when you're in front of a room, when you have a chance to speak to somebody, when do you feel that you are the most nervous? Would you say it was at the beginning of your talk, the middle of your talk, or the end of your talk? Right? You probably would agree with me. You're most nervous at the beginning.
Yeah.
So now let's think of the other side of the coin, the audience. When do you think the audience is the most skeptical about the speaker? At the beginning of the talk, the middle, at the beginning. So here's the deal. You're the most nervous. They're the most skeptical. That is a recipe for disaster. So, it's a 3-day workshop.
Yeah.
We spend the entire, and I warn everybody right away. I said, listen, you guys are going to freak out, because we're going to spend the entire day, and maybe even some of tomorrow, working on the first 5 minutes of your talk. I said, do not freak out. Trust me. Trust the process. We will get to the end. I promise you. But that's how important that first 5 minutes is.
Yeah.
It gives you, like, immediately when you hit the stage, or you hit the screen, or you hit go, or after you're done, right off the bat, you can start with confidence.
Yep.
And then people
even got Melanie in there. Beginning.
That's it, Melanie. But then right from the beginning, you get that buy-in.
Yeah.
See, if you have their buy-in, if you can appeal to something that they're looking for in the first 5 minutes, and establish some authority in understanding a little bit of your expertise, and it's not hard to do that, by the way, there's a process for it. Then it's easy. From that point on, your job from that point on is just don't screw it up, because you've already got them. In 5 minutes, you're done. They will get something from you at the end. They're either going to like you, they're going to talk about you, they're going to get good karma from you, but they're going to walk away positive, as long as you don't screw up from that point on. But if you screw up the first 5 minutes, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your talk is. It is an uphill battle the entire time. That's why I'm so adamant about making sure that, when speakers leave the workshop, that they own that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because after that, then it's just you being you, talking about the things you know. And at the end, it's, if you'd like some more information, give me a call. We'll schedule a consultation.
Yeah.
That part's easy.
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes, though, is so crucial.
So I'm putting on the bottom of the screen for those that I mean, I've done a number of your events. I've sometimes as a participant, sometimes just dropping in, auditing, just because I love listening to you and watching people, the metamorphosis that happens with people just in a first, a couple of days. But I know you've got your next event coming up in June. It's the same 3-day component, but is it going to be the same day one? You're going to start with those beginnings again?
Yeah. And it's structured that way on purpose. I will literally walk the participants through writing their program. So listen, we're going to start. Well, before we start anything, we're starting with some clarity. Like, who are you and what do you want to achieve? What is it that you want to promote? Do you want to use it to build your business? Are you looking to sell a product? Are you a coach? Are you a consultant? Is it attorney services? Is it some sort of medical service that you're looking to build out into the community? We'll talk about how to do that. What's really neat, and here's what's different from 5 years ago, is that now we're going to incorporate how do you use AI to make creating this material a little bit easier for yourself.
Cool.
But I am really clear that AI is not, it's artificial intelligence. It is not abdicative intelligence.
There you
It
go.
doesn't mean that you're allowed to not be a participant in this. You can just use it as a starter, but then it's how do we put you into it and that authenticity, because that is what people will remember. And that is what people will connect to. And that's what's going to drive your clientele. That's what's going to set you apart from everybody else who's just blending in with AI generated junk that starts with "in a world where" and ends with "warmly," and they all sound exactly the same. And that's not what we want to do. We want to help you sound like you, because nobody else does.
Well, I talk with clients all the time and we're constantly, I mean, I'm always telling them, sharpen your speaking skills, sharpen your communication skills. Chat GPT is a great junior copywriter, but you still need to go back and edit it and refine it.
Kristen, let me ask you a question. We worked on, and when we first worked together, we worked on creating your talk because you were teaching and you were delivering content to promote another organization that you were working with at the time. But let me ask you, how has the same skills that you learned developing that talk, how has that translated into your ability to sell your services outside of talking, like just even when it's one-on-one with people?
Yeah. So many of the parts, for one, you've got to gain the authority. So being able to share with people that I've journeyed this path. I worked 85 plus hours a week. Law school didn't teach me how to do so many of these things, but I learned, and I immediately started making more money, working less hours. Just that part of the story immediately shows people I've been where they are. I've walked this walk. There's life on the other side, right? Like just those initial pieces can help. But then also so much of the part that you taught me of like seeding them with what's to come, like where there's opportunities, getting in front of objections and knowing. So when I'm one-on-one with someone, I'm watching their body language, I'm hearing what they're saying, and I know where I can get in front of some objections. Like whether I'm talking to a group of hundreds or whether I'm talking one-on-one, or in fact, 2 months ago, I did a keynote speech to a couple hundred people. And I've got to say, I thought of you when I was writing the keynote speech too, because, and people, I got rave reviews. I mean, the organizer wrote back to me and said, we haven't had someone rave about a keynote speaker in years as much as they raved about your keynote. So, I mean, I got a lot of good feedback from it, but I had to tweak the way I did the presentation when it's a keynote than when it's me in front of 50 people teaching and getting them to buy something, versus a little bit of a tweak if it's one-on-one, right? But again, you taught me the recipe, you taught me the components, and I now know how to adjust those components to depending on which kind of audience I'm working with, right? And so learning those elements from you was absolutely a game changer. That's what allowed me to really understand it. And then I could focus on sharpening those skills and always making them better.
Very cool. And so I know we had about 20 minutes, and we've probably gone well over at this point, but I do want to share one thing, and this is just like for everybody that's out there. If there was one thing that I think in your communication will make a difference with promoting what you do and promoting your service, it would be this: stop telling people what you do. Start telling them how what you do will make their life better. So what you do is just the feature. That's, I'm a family law, I'm med mal, I'm a personal injury, I am an estate planning attorney, whatever that is, that's what you do. But how does that help them? And that's one of the things, we start out with, when we really get to know who people are in the beginning, it's, why is that important to you? Like, what difference are you going to make for those people? Because what people buy is not the feature of what you do or how you do it. They'll justify that. What they buy is the promise of an outcome and the benefits of what you do. So one of the best questions that you can ask yourself when you're deciding, how am I going to position my product or service? Say out loud whatever your product or service is, and then ask yourself this question: well, what's so great about that? And then when you answer that question, that's closer to the outcome and the benefit of what you do. And that would be my suggestion for the communications that you have moving forward. When you're looking to promote what you do, your products or services, always ask yourself, whatever you're going to say and whatever comes out of your mouth, ask yourself, what's so great about that? And then that's what you share with those folks, because what's so great about it is what I want to buy. Yeah, you're in estate planning and you're going to help me set up a will versus a trust. All right, well, what's so great about that? Well, one takes a little bit longer. It's going to cost me a little bit more money, but it's going to avoid probate. It's going to save me a ton of time later on. It's going to prevent my family from fighting and squabbling over one another. It can literally save a family relationship. Yeah. Because I've seen so many families tear themselves apart over this issue. That's what's so great about that. Like, and you all do these things that all of us, by the way, and including me, we take ourselves for granted. We think we just do what we do. Like, I'm a trainer and I help people speak. But then I forget about all the lives that get changed because of that. And that's what's so important. And whenever you're getting ready to speak about yourself, one of the most significant challenges that people have is that they're so concerned about themselves speaking and how they're going to look, they forget about why they're doing it in the first place. And they forget about the audience that's listening. My goal is to help that audience move forward, because I could share my gifts. Like, as a chiropractor, if I adjusted one person, great, I helped one person, fantastic. As a speaker, if I got in front of a room of 600 people, well, that's better. I just helped 600 people. But if I just help, and by the way, our rooms are small, our courses are small, and this is intentional. But if I help 20 or 25 people in that room get better at sharing their gifts and they go out and do it, well, now I've just helped like 6,000 people. And that's important to me. And, if you decide you're going to come to my program, I'll share the story about why sharing that message is so important. It has to do with my daughter, Lauren, who passed away when she was 17, about 10 years ago now. But it's real important to me to help people get better at sharing. But I'm also a businessman. So I want you to come at it from a place of heart and from a place of caring. I also want you to make a lot of money doing it. You're helping people and you deserve to be rewarded for that. And there's no reason why you can't do both at the same time. And that's what I help you do.
Well, I can first-handedly say that you helped me get better at speaking. And I have now helped thousands and thousands of other business owners to have more profitable businesses, have better lives, less hours, and made their life better, their family's life better, their staff's life better, right? So your ripple effect has single-handedly, I can assure you, has rippled through thousands and thousands of
And
people,
Kristen,
and I
people
love
like
it.
you are one of the reasons why I feel like blessed to have been put into this position, right? I was a chiropractor for 23 years before starting to speak professionally. And then I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in getting good at it and lots of hours. Um, but the first time that I spoke, I share this story. The first time I got on stage to do just a warm up, which is like the guy that comes out before the main speaker and goes, "Hey, everybody, let's get together," and blah blah blah. I tell people it was like there were 1,700 people in the room. And this is what I said. If you took a piece of coal and put it between my butt cheeks before I went on stage, when I got off 5 minutes later, I would have given you a diamond. I was so scared. It was so ridiculous. I mean, I was sweating, I was perspiring, but I also knew, and I had this moment, and I don't know if you were those of you listening right now have ever had this moment happen in your life, but in that moment, like I felt like something like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
I have goosebumps right now remembering that moment. And that's why, it was easy to spend all those hours and all that money getting better at it, because this is what makes a difference. And this is what makes me excited. It makes me happy. And it does good things for other people too. So, you know, what is it about what you do that those of you that are listening, find out or just try to tap into what is it about what you do that gets you excited, and then share that when you're talking about it, because that is what makes you memorable.
I love this stuff, Dennis. We could keep talking, but I am so grateful for you to jump on and share some of these nuggets with our audience. And we're going to put some of this into our business mastery college, because some of these, I mean, I think we all have to hear some of this over and over again to really have it draw in. But I know a ton of my clients, it either need you to come to their, like, virtually do a session with their team to help them or help their team be able to use the message better. Hopefully some of them are going to come visit you in June. And hey, everybody, if enough of you end up going to the June event, maybe I'll pop down to Phoenix and come pop my head in for a
Oh,
day.
that'd be awesome. Hey, if
Two
anybody
for
wants to
one.
get in touch with me, Kristen, they can just do speakwithdennis.com.
Okay.
And that'll
Speakwithdennis.com.
put you on my calendar. We'll do a quick Zoom. If you've got questions, if you just want to share something with me, if you just want to tell me, hey, I loved your chat, that's cool too. Totally open. But speakwithdennis.com, that'll just get us a conversation. I can tell you about this event or future ones that we have, or just see how I can help you. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. Obviously, everyone, I would highly recommend. Dennis has absolutely transformed my ability. As an attorney, I knew how to speak in front of a judge and a jury, but that was very tight in the state of Oregon. Nowadays, getting up on big stages, doing keynotes, having so much fun, and loving getting in front of any kind of a crowd or a group to share my story. It definitely, like, the time I've spent with you, Dennis, has been absolutely transformative to helping me be at my, hone my skills and always getting better. So thank you for jumping on with us today. And everyone, go to speakwithdennis.com, chat with Dennis. Again, highly, highly recommend. So
Hey, Kristen, thank you so much for having me on.
you're welcome. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.